vibes. Ahoy, hoy, friends, and a Vulcan salute, high five to you and our friendship. Welcome to the Salon. We are so excited and sad to talk about the series finale of Star Trek Lower Decks this evening. I'll be beaming the crew in just a moment. But before we get started, I wanted to share a quick heartfelt thank you from all of us at the Salon to Mike McMahon, the writers, and the entire cast and crew of Star Trek Lower Decks. These last 5 seasons have been truly wonderful. You all have expanded the franchise in incredible ways. You've made us laugh. You've made us cry. You've brought so much joy. We've loved talking about this. And the Salon is kind of your fault. Our name comes from the Lower Decks episode where we visited Deep Space Nine, and we saw a lovely salon around a ghost candle for a moment today as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for birthing us in a way. It is lovely to come together with all of my Trek friends and to talk about this thing that we love. And Lower Decks has a special place in all of our hearts. So again, Mike, cast and crew, writers, everybody involved in the show, thank you so much. It has been wonderful. We hope this isn't the end. And goodness, let's get into it. Let's beam the crew in, shall we? Let's start with Ken. Hello, Ken. How are you?
Hello. Happy being birth. That's true. It's a good thing, Stanley. Great to be back on the Salon. And yes, a very bittersweet night tonight. So thank you.
Well, welcome back. And speaking of bittersweet, coming to us live from Canada, going through their own kind of shenanigans, same as America. Benji, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm like you said, I'm bittersweet. The Star Trek series is ending.
Well, we'll get it. Well, hopefully it'll be more sweet tonight than bitter.
Yeah.
But you know who's bitter? This bitch. Hi, Will. How are you?
What up? Bitter as fuck. No, we're good. We're good. Drinking. Hooray. Star Trek.
Speaking of drinking and Star Trek, here's Krista. Krista, how are you? Oh, you're on mute for the second time ever.
Fuck off. Well. So happy to be here. Next.
Yes. And speaking of happy to be here, my co-host, Trevor. Hello. Drink a drink.
Greetings.
How are you?
I'm delightful. I am.
You are delightful.
I'm bitter and sweet, but not bittersweet. No, it's good. I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to talk about it.
Excellent. Well, we're going to get into it. Before we do, a quick thank you to those of you who are with us in the chat. For those listening or watching at home, please do like and subscribe in all of the places. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Blue Sky, and on Patreon if you got a few dollars to throw our way. There's also a free community tier there. We are at Salon Trek in all of the places. This weekend, a few of us are going to be recording bonus content for December, which will be Benji's comfort episode, Those Old Scientists from Strange New World. So we'll be getting a little bit more Lower Decks in this week for our $5 Patreon supporters. Thank you very much to those who help cover the costs of the Salon. Again, at Salon Trek in all of the places. Please like and subscribe. The business out of the way. Let's get to the fun. So bittersweet. Today marks the end of an era, but not the end of the Salon, of course. We will be around forever or until, the universe implodes. So we're going to talk about the finale tonight. But before we do that, we simply and always must set an intention.
Indeed, we must. So to set an intention tonight, I thought it would be fun, and this one will probably be fairly quick. We shall see. If we went around the room and discussed what our going to warp catchphrases would be for we all to become captains of a wonderful, perhaps transmuting starship. As always, I'll kick us off. I'm going to borrow from Krista's comfort episode and just say that my warp catchphrase would probably be "step on it." It's not as problematic as you were probably anticipating. It's a fun phrase. I won't say it with the ridiculous "step on it" that Picard gave us in that episode, but it's delightful, and I'm going to say it. Krista, my love.
I thought you were going to say, find me a fiction expert. I don't like this intention because I couldn't come up with anything. So
I'll drag Trevor.
blame Trevor. So mine, I started with proceed as you will, but that was too many words. And then I thought, why don't I just say declarative statement? And that's too vague. So now it's just fuck it.
Yes.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. Find
It
it.
works.
And fuck it.
It works. I love it. At first I thought you were going to say it's just declarative statement, and I enjoyed that as well. But
I thought declarative statement is my default.
but fuck it works.
If I can't fuck it, that's.
If you can't fuck it, declare
If
it.
I can't fuck it.
The whales
declarative
love it.
statement.
Everyone write that down. If you can't declare it, just not in customs. Anyway, Will, save us.
I had two. I thought of two.
Let 'em
two.
out. Let
So
'em
the
out.
first one I was just gonna go, just like non-verbal, just like, like people would know. So I thought that would be good. Or I would just do this. I would just go sit there, and be like, go. That would be it.
Just very bitchy. I was
Just like,
thinking
just like
today-
Miranda
on the
Priestley in the back of a car, just sitting there, just going, go. Like, what are you doing? Like
I
that.
was
That's what I
walking
would go
in
for.
today thinking about this
Why is
intention after Trev
anybody
sent it, and I was like, wait,
ready?
why is it two orders? Why is it always like set a course for whatever, and then I have to say go? Come on,
Yeah.
you're right.
But I would just go, don't make me say it. Don't make me say it. That would do
Don't
that.
make
Make
me
me.
sing.
Yeah. But just like, and then it would go.
He
That'd be
definitely put more
Oops.
The
thought.
greatest captain.
Benji.
Travis so not on mute. You
Let
bitch.
it go.
Go.
Mine would be, oh, this is gonna be so bad. Warp speed now, sir. But I'd say it with like an increasingly worse Scottish accent every single time, and everybody would groan and hate me, and I'd probably get dragged into HR.
I mean, I think at some point everyone in the salon has been dragged. Okay. Into HR. Ken, my dear.
So, in my tradition, I am going to not go with Star Trek. I'm going to steal from Caddyshack. I'm going to steal from Rodney Dangerfield, and I'm going to go, let's dance. That's it. Let's dance.
You know what? It started poorly and ended strongly. Good for you, Ken. I like it. Trevor, you're on mute.
I don't know how the
Unintention-
mute button. Apparently, Krista ran into my room and like hit the mute button. Yeah. Anyway, what I said doesn't matter. Dan, what's your answer to this fucking question?
Let's go. It's simple. It's inclusive of everybody. It can be said any which way. It could be like, all right, let's go. It could be, let's go. It could be stressful. It could be annoying. Ugh, let's go. And love it. Lovely intention setter. It's funny. I do think there's been a little too much of the warp phrasing in other shows in the franchise. Here it's cute. It fits the vibe of this show. And so it's a lovely intention setter for the finale. Excellent work as always to my co-host. Thank you. I don't want this show to end. I don't want to move forward, but we must. let's get into our top thoughts. I will kick us off. I thought this finale was damn near perfect. No shade to the other shows, but not since All Good Things have I felt so completely satisfied by a finale as I did with this one. We had like coming out of last week, I did have one hope of a moment for T'Pol Dax, but I realized in watching, like, we really didn't need that. Last week was a standalone. It wasn't a part 1 to a 2-part finale. They were connected, but not part 1 and 2. It kicked us off to have this really lovely episode. It was emotional. It was funny. I thought it was an amazing conclusion for all of our characters. We saw development in this episode and across the entire franchise. There was a nod to more stories to be told. So hopefully, quick soapbox moment when Section 31 comes out, even if it's not your jam, I'm super excited about it. But even if you're not, watch it. Because if that movie does well, they will make more movies. And that could be a Lower Decks movie. It could be a Legacy movie. It could be any number of things. And this episode gave us so many hilarious lines, so many wonderful moments. We'll get into it for sure, but a couple of highlights for me. Number one, I just love seeing this crew work together. The themes of teamwork, communication, not looking, just everything. God, I'm all over the place, but we got to see Klingons, a Chihuahua Targ. We got more Klingon nonsense that didn't feel like a distraction, but really moved the story along. We got the slutty whales, which I fucking loved. Hopefully Matt joins us soon enough, because just this nod to Matt making a silly little joke when it was not appropriately timed is lovely. The ship porn, I want every version of the Cerritos, please and thank you. And again, we had these wonderful moments for all of our crew. The friendship high five, the science besties anime moment of it all. I loved everything, and I could ramble on forever and ever, but damn near perfect. Ken, what were your top thoughts on this series finale?
Well, I agree with you. I was thinking about series finales for Star Trek, or just I've read some comments that this was a great series finale just for television, right? You think about the great series finales, you think of MASH, Lower Decks. This one, I think they did a great job in wrapping things up and then leaving the door open for more. And everybody had their moments. All the main characters, all of our secondary characters, they all had incredible moments. Even if some of them there were no spoken parts for some of them, but they were all there on the screen, and it was great. The idea of paying homage to all aspects of Star Trek, pretty much. Not very much TOS in there, but that's okay. But everything else was there. And although there was a reference to Kirk, there was a Kirk, moment. Let's do some Kirk things there. So I think they did a great job. The animation, as always, was beautiful. The character moments were all fantastic. The idea that when Boimler broke the pad, that was just like a whole arc leading up to him breaking that pad. And then, the arc with everyone, really. I have no real complaints with it. I thought it was very well paced. It was the longest episode they ever had, with 34 minutes, but well deserved. I thought it was very, very well paced, as I said, and they left it open for what could very well be a whole new show with Starbase 80, with Carol Freeman, and exploring the multiverse. If they wanted to go there, if they wanted to continue with the Cerritos, they could do that. So they left many, many doors open, and at the same time, while they left all those doors open, it did have a great sense of closure to it. So I'm good. It was great.
Benji, give us your top
Moi?
thoughts.
Yeah, like similarly, like I like a finale where they actually give that episode its like own plot and story. Like looking at Voyager or DS9, even the finale is just like they're getting it done, like they're wrapping shit up. It doesn't have like its own encapsulated story, which this one did, which like all good things did. So I like it when they give it its own story and manage to also work in like all of the character moments that we needed and tying things up. So yeah, it worked really well as a series finale. I like that they like throw in some pesky Klingons just to raise the stakes because that's what they're usually there for. I like that the show grew its beard at the end of the series, which is like, what's to come? Maybe things will get good. So we'll see. Yeah. William.
Okay, so as a season finale, I thought this was really good. As a series finale, I was disappointed. Not because because I could tell that the stuff that I don't know at what point did they know that they weren't going, excuse you, that I knew at what point they knew that the show was being canceled. And I think like this goes back to like a larger problem with just like streaming in general, where 5 seasons of a show that's only 10 episodes long, you get 50 episodes. Most shows, originally Star Trek had like 24, 25 episodes a season, so they would have more time to develop these characters. And I think given the limitations of just episode order, I think that the show as a whole has done, this season alone has done so much to push these characters forward in a way that we've never really seen in Star Trek, where it feels like certain characters are are kind of stuck in time. Like Next Generation, everyone seemed to be stuck in time. No one moved on, no one got promoted, nothing really happened. And then there's this, with this show, I felt like it was some of the best writing we've seen in a Star Trek show. It was gorgeous on top of it. Some of the best voice acting they've had on any animated show that's out right now. And then they cancel after 5 seasons because, as streaming models, they see that viewership drops off after 5 seasons. But I think that this is ridiculous because you don't allow time for an audience to attach itself to a show with 10 episodes. And then you make crazy snap judgments on things and cancel shows before they get their footing. And I think this show not only got its footing, I think they built such a strong foundation as a series to cancel after 5 seasons is absolutely ridiculous. And considering, yes, animation is expensive, but it left me wanting because I could tell that they tacked on some stuff at the end to kind of bolster this, like they did with Discovery. I feel like they probably told Discovery and them at the same time, hey, by the way, you're canceled, because they came out around the same time. So as a season finale, I thought this was the strongest they've ever done. Like I thought last season's finale was pretty good, and they've always gotten better. But as a series finale, I was a little frustrated because I think the show had finally found itself in a way that Discovery hadn't, the way that Strange New Worlds has yet to find itself. And to cancel it, I thought was some of the most ridiculous things this Paramount has done. And I know it's because it's streaming and all of this stuff. So it colored it for me. I'm sure later on I will have different opinions as I distance myself from the frustrations of the fact that we're running out of Star Trek very quickly. And yes, and I hope they make movies because they deserve it.
Preach. Krista, what were your top thoughts on this series finale?
I enjoyed it, but I have to agree, for a series finale, it was a little underwhelming. For a season finale, it was great. But that said, when I was watching it, I had sort of a nostalgic feeling about it. It struck me as very, sorry, Ken, but it struck me as very much an homage to the original series and the kind of original ideas of you choose your family, you choose which direction you go, we are stronger together. The differences that we have do not outweigh the similarities that we have, and I think all of that was emphasized in kind of a nice cyclical nature. The thing that's really bothering me about it being canceled is that it was really one of the only shows in the franchise that successfully took the piss. Like, it really leveled the hypercritical of the franchise as a whole, and sort of encouraged people to kind of laugh a little bit at themselves, laugh a little bit about how seriously sometimes it can be taken, and it takes it into an area that's sort of dark. Let's take the piss, bring it back a little bit. And it did it in such a clever way that it was not insulting. It was more endearing than it could ever have been insulting. And I'm personally going to miss that level of irreverence, that permission to say that was just fucking funny, or just the swearing in general, just the outrageous examples that they gave of, let's just poke fun at this, now let's go poke fun at that. And all the while they're doing this in this final episode, they're also providing at the same time a massive amount of ship porn, which was completely lost on me because I give zero fucks on that. But they still managed to do that, provide that. And then also the slumber party with the girls working with the Ronin ghost candle. Like, yeah, I mean, they balanced everything so beautifully and so well, and we're not going to see it again. I'm afraid we're going to veer back into the well, this isn't Star Trek, or this isn't, they would never do this, or when we have live action. And I wonder if it's because it's animation that we give ourselves permission to play a little bit more than when it's live action. So I don't know. Those are my notes for that. I'm going to need some wine.
Bring it. All right, bring us home. Trevor, top thoughts on this finale?
I will do my best. So I agree with, see, this is the lamest part about going last, is that I'm like, I agree with everyone. But I basically do agree with everyone's sentiment. I think I will push back a little bit on just, and this is not really pushback, this is like my perception was the pacing wasn't great. It felt very rushed. I think because they just had to resolve the story because they couldn't leave a cliffhanger because things had progressed from a storyboard perspective before they got the cancellation. And then I don't know why they couldn't do more of an epilogue than they did, but whatever. It is what it is. It was an entertaining episode. I enjoyed it. I agree that as a series finale, it needed more because what little they started to give us ended kind of abruptly. Although I appreciate Ransom being made into a competent officer and having been one all along, because him not being a competent officer was a weird slight, in my opinion, on Captain Freeman, who would never have an incompetent first officer. She's just too good of a captain. So I appreciated that the joke was then made into its own a joke unto itself, and appreciated that he's not only competent, he's now a captain and has a really annoying going to warp catchphrase that I can't wait for all of them to have to listen to for the rest of their time on that ship. I agree with a lot of what Krista was saying, but I actually kind of hope, because when we did get live action, we got it so good. That crossover was fantastic. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking so forward to doing the commentary on that episode. Because I didn't think it was possible to pull those characters out of animation and still have them be believable, yet somehow Jack and Tawny pulled it off. Fuck it, I'm just going to go there. Despite really obnoxious and petty conversation that happened on another stream today, the fact that some of the actors don't match all of the proportions of the characters that they play in animation doesn't mean they can't be live action without assistance. It's just like, of course they can. Eugene can play, Sam Noel can play Tendi, and would love to see it again. So I hope we get more. I don't care what form it happens. I just want more. I hope Lower Decks and its success leads to some other forms of animation, as well as Prodigy and its success, despite its wonky cancellation and then resurgence on Netflix. But anywho, yeah, I could ramble forever, but I'm not going to. So those are my top thoughts.
I love it. All right, well, let's deep dive. Let's talk about the various bits of this episode. Let's start with the general story. We've got, continuing from last week, this interdimensional rip in space, and all of this. I forget the technical term. Energy coming into this dimension. William Boimler being told. Oh, I made it a little smaller than I meant to. But everybody is like, well, the Boimlers caught us with this. What did y'all think about like the general mission of this episode? I for one loved it. I thought it was a like I said earlier, the last episode was its own thing, and this one was its own thing, even though they were connected. But I loved the bitchiness of people in that that comm message with Starfleet. Like, oh no, ordinarily we would never let your ship handle this. And then they were just like, yeah, thank God. I for a second thought, God, fuck you, Paramount. The show is so good. I loved it. And then I didn't catch it until another rewatch after reading the Trek movie review, but seeing Dr. T'Ana was still in her sexy Treasure Island holodeck fantasy garb during that conversation was hilarious. It's a fun little thing. So general thoughts on the MacGuffin of the episode, closing the rift. What do we think about the multiverse of it all? Who has thoughts? Will?
I thought this was really good. I thought the plot of it tied back into the earlier episodes of the season, and I thought it brought stuff not full circle, but like kind of brought all of kind of it felt like they were, if we're using an analogy, it felt like we were chopping a lot of vegetables for a dish, and then finally they made it. It was like, oh, thank God. Like it was like they finally cooked the thing they were kind of telling us they were making the whole time. So the Klingon villain, really cool. I love that fucking Chihuahua Targ thing. It's like the most that's how I'm not a huge fan of Chihuahua, sorry, cancel me, but like that thing is like the way I envision a Chihuahua, which is like brilliant. Like,
100%.
so fucking crazy. I love it. And then like
The Chihuahua Targ.
There's so many embedded jokes in this episode just alone. There's so many references and stuff, like quick things like oh, the Enterprise is on its way, but you're kind of it right now. Like that's really funny. We're sending the big guns, but you're kind of it. So like the idea of the episode is, it feels very like final episode Star Trek, because how many three of the, well, technically 3 of the final episodes of Star Trek we have, if we're counting These Are the Voyages, then are like timey travel kind of situations. So like this Endgame, that now it's like all good things. I thought that this was like very good. Like the Klingon villain's really good. The episode was really, I thought the pacing, it was rushing, but like love the Klingons. I love the way they make them absolutely fucking ridiculous in the show, because they are. It's like they're insane. Like there's no way that this race, this alien species where they constantly are fighting with each other and worried about domination, would invent warp drive or have space travel. Like there's no way. And just like, oh, they got turned into proto Klingons and then killed each other. Like that's hilarious. So like I love them as a villain. Loved it. Love. I support women villains, please.
Yes. They're the best.
Why Krista's
ones.
here.
Yeah.
That was you, girl.
She was really channeling her. My first thought was she's channeling her Cersei Lannister and her irritation with both her brothers. And the role of Jeffrey will be played by this rabid Chihuahua Targ, which I'm not mad at you on the Chihuahua. I'm not. I'm kind of there with you. They shake a lot.
Girl, why are you so worked up? Like, they're like, just
Mhm.
chill. Like, Jesus. Like,
You shouldn't
I've
feel it.
never met one that wasn't just like psychotic in a way. It's like institutionalize this thing, like lobotomy now.
I've
Like,
never. When I think
please.
of Elon Musk, I think of a Chihuahua, just a shaking, freaked out. I notice me, notice me.
Wow,
We're off.
that's a
Okay.
real hit to Chihuahuas.
Indeed.
They deserve it.
Well, yeah.
I've encountered, I think, maybe 2 cute chihuahuas in my life, and that's a stretch.
I have Chihuahua friends.
I liked Freeman's like basic just I'm so done with this. Like just halfway through she was just like, why am I the cleanup? Why are we having to deal with this? It's almost like she's just so resigned to so much bullshit. And I liked that they presented it like she's just fucking done, and now she's off on her new adventure and she gets to do her Starbase 80 thing. And I especially liked that they showed Zoe as like thoroughly belonging to the Admiralty because he's a fucking princess. Like he literally could not fucking deal with the fact that nobody was there to pick up his bags. And it's like, dude, you're really gonna have fun on this Starbase. This is gonna be I want 5 minutes of that. Just give me 5 minutes of that. But I liked that showing her kind of exhaustion with I'm done with this routine. I'd like something new, and then juxtaposing it against the princess level of her admiral husband. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, that is a perfect segue, Krista, into what I wanted to talk about next, which was the character development that we got for our folks, and starting with Captain Freeman. At the end of this episode, we see Captain Freeman has moved on from the Cerritos, something that she wanted to earlier, and then she realized she didn't want to, and now this new opportunity comes, and it makes more sense than just getting a, quote, better ship. We get Starbase 80, which, as Joel mentioned in the chat, had its own character arc in this series, but definitely this season. So we've got we also have 3 black leaders on that station, which I think is really cool. We've got the commander of the station. We've got Captain Freeman leading this new interdimensional exploration, and then Admiral Freeman on there doing whatever he does from this new base rather than from Earth. What were our thoughts, anybody, on Captain Freeman's new mission, and that being the close of her arc in this series? Ken, and then Benji.
So I think that it was really great to see not just the Carol Freeman arc, but along with her seeing the mom and daughter arc with Mariner at the same time. And I thought that was very, very well done. And the way that they had that hug out on the bridge, and even the way that they sort of, put that together where, Mariner says, I love you. And then, you see her face saying, I love you too. I thought the Starbase 80 was cool. I love the image of the starship tractoring Starbase 80 into position. I thought that was really cool. And I think that the idea that, she was a secondary character in a lot of ways throughout the show. Obviously, there were episodes where she was prominent, but, she always was, the command crew is always sort of second level to our lower deckers. And here, you still see the captain being the captain. And I thought that was very, very cool. And again, this generation of Star Trek, very focused not only on female villains but on female leads, right? And looking at Discovery, looking at just all of the female leads that they've had, and here you see Carol Freeman coming of her own, and the idea that she could be the lead now of this new
exploring the interdimensional frontier with the new wormhole or whatever they're going to call it. So yeah, I agree with Norman. I was about to say it is like the new Deep Space Nine. You could do a whole show called Starbase 80, and it's right there with its own little wormhole, and it's essentially the same thing, and they could do that. And I wouldn't put it past Mike McMahon to be pitching that right now. So, and yes, Paramount would be really smart, really, really smart to pick this up. But yeah, I thought the Carol Freeman arc through the season and through the series was very strong, and I thought they did her well here.
So today, I think for the first time ever, the Ready Room was not region locked, which is nice. It just showed up in my feed.
Just in time for it to end.
Perfect. Yeah, because Ready Room is also ending. There's not going to be any more Ready Room. So
no plans for Section 31 or season 3 of Strange New Worlds.
I misunderstood. I thought you meant just in time for Canada to end.
No, that's also possible.
That's still scheduled.
And America, January 20th. I mean, everybody enjoy The Last Christmas.
North America's been overrated for a while now.
Yeah.
The facts. Benji, what were your thoughts? You
So
brought up the Ready Room.
Apparently, Mike McMahon's original plan was that he was going to kill off the bridge crew, like one by one, sort of like a reverse red shirt situation, but then like realized, how important these characters were. And, so like they were supposed to be the side characters and the lower deckers were supposed to be the main characters. But they ended up sort of carrying out that vibe to the entire ship. Like the Cerritos itself is a lower decker ship, and thus so is the bridge crew. That was jumping off something Ken said. I don't know why. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen maybe Freeman promoted to Admiral, and then maybe Zoe is retired and like struggling with what a lot of men do when they reach that age, and they realize that they had no lives outside of work. It's a thing that happens. So I'd have liked that, and then also but just like the ending in general, also like that they're opening a whole new frontier. It's just such a wonderful way to end it, and to put Captain Freeman in charge of that, I think is great. Yes, I would be down for a DS9 style Starbase 80 series with Captain Freeman, Admiral Freeman, cleaning that place up and like making do with maybe like an under-resourced situation like Deep Space Nine was, while trying to maintain this opening to a new world.
That would be an amazing parallel from TNG to Deep Space Nine, from Lower Decks to Starbase 80. I mean, that's what it would be called, right? That would be fun.
And because it's the multiverse, just like the previous episode, they could bring in any character, right? Which
any variation of them. A Star Trek What If would be an incredible opportunity, as we saw last week. To Paul Dax was great.
That's right.
And how about Captain Ransom? We talked about it a little bit earlier. Folks mentioning like this season, especially. I mean, he's had touchstones in, especially last season and a little bit throughout. Of he's not really this much of a doofus, but they really made a point of making it clear. That was Trevor making it clear this season. Captain Freeman made the right choice in having him be her first officer. He's not really that big of a doofus, and he has earned this promotion to become the captain of the Cerritos. I saw somebody, I think Jerry O'Connell reposted it, but I saw somebody online today was like, I wonder if Jerry was taunting the other number one in his household, because now he's a captain and she's still the number one. Justice for Una, she needs a promotion at least. Not being a full commander is bullshit. Whatever. Thoughts on Captain Ransom? Engage the core. Who wants to engage the core? I do love that the very last line in Star Trek Lower Decks is Mariner and Boimler. It's not even Ransom's line. It's Mariner and Boimler groaning about it. It's perfect. Perfect.
Co-managers never work out. It has been tried. It is
I don't
not
know.
possible.
I mean, I don't know. I find it interesting. The thought is interesting. I mean, like in today's world, I agree with you, Benji, but I do wonder a co-first officer situation. You know, they just split the departments, right? Like there's it's middle management, right? So who knows? But Will, you came off mute for a second.
I did. Talking about Ransom as captain, I think like I watched this morning, the finale, and then started rewatching the series and um the season, and then realized that they had planted like that Ransom was a good first officer, like through the season. So it built to him becoming captain, which was really cool because it was like, is he terrible at his job? Because he seems to do things and like he doesn't fuck up that much. Like every time he's brought in and it's him and Mariner, he's cleaning up Mariner's mess. So it's like he's actually very competent. He's just a doofus. So like
It's his
whether
style,
that's
not the substance.
yeah, it's the style. So I like that they kind of brought it full circle where they're like it's the people that are right for the job are not always the people that you would expect. So I like that was what we got with his character, and it's great that there was character development for people who are even in the background. Like we got like a lot of great things that happen with just the characters just across the board, but like even with Ransom, who is like like he isn't in that many episodes and kind of comes across very two-dimensional, which is ironic for an animated TV show. But I felt like there was him becoming captain felt right, especially in the last couple episodes, and then this last episode just generally, where he uncovered the message, did some hid Malore, like all of the things that he should have been doing as first officer and going, this wasn't right, and then setting people to fix it, I think was great. So yeah, he definitely seems like a much better captain than I think we give him credit for, and it feels more like the character of Ransom feels like the stereotype we think of Captain Kirk, where he's this cowboy that runs out and is just like this jock bro and just does things. Where like if you rewatch the original series, Kirk is very like by the book. He bangs one green woman and all of a sudden it's a thing. But like yeah, anyway, I don't want to join the TOS alert, but I'm gonna stop talking before I
Uh-oh.
become Ken.
It's too
But
late.
you're getting one.
Oh
getting
no. Well, actually, yeah.
You're in this multi-dimensional episode. You're turning in. You're getting hit by a soliton wave and becoming a tosser.
Well,
Finally
actually,
happened. Well, actually.
all right.
Something you mentioned reminded me. I've been convinced a little bit about the pacing. Although this was the longest episode, they needed the extra time. Of course, it was depending on how you look at it, 12 to 6 minutes longer than any show like this would be, even in streaming. And at 34 minutes and 10 seconds, I think, longest of the series, and like dropped everything in, like quite literally in some places. Who's his face from season 1, who met the great koala, dropped in at one point. We see Nurse Westlake and Stevens jump in the pool with Matt and is it Kimalu? Kimalu, thank you. And they got a wonderful little bit in this episode, but then just the little drops. I loved. We get a callback to the new character from this season who had her hero moment, throwing that ridiculous cartoonish, even in this cartoon universe, lightning bolt at the Klingon ship, which was really fun. We also had just like the Klingon bird of prey from Discovery and a L'Rell looking Klingon. So funny. I loved, like, I died at this moment. I love seeing all of the different Cerritoses, the Cerriti. I loved the one nacelle call out and Tindy about to explain it, and Carol being like, no, we don't have time to nerd out about this right now. So funny. Let's talk about our lower deckers, our now mid deckers, and in charge of the lower deckers. What were our thoughts? Pick somebody, anybody, any of the main crew that we've been seeing these last 5 seasons that you want to talk about. I'll kick off with Mariner. I love how, this whole show, Tawny has been an incredible actor in this show. I'm so excited for her to hopefully get her in development show greenlit, perhaps as a continuation even of some of these stories, since it's in roughly the same time. I loved Mariner from the jump in this series. I loved that this series had a main character that was flawed and saw that growth. And then in this season in particular, really finds her own and ends up as a co-first officer, still herself, still groaning about it, like, oh, I don't want to do this. But really grew into the role on the ship. That's how I'll kick it off. Who wants to talk about any of our lower deckers and how they ended up in this finale?
I would like to
Ken?
talk about how sorry.
Let's go to Ken first and then Trevor. Sorry.
Oh, so I'm going to talk about not one of the originals. I'm going to talk about Talin, and I thought that Talin
She counts.
I thought that she was fantastic, and I love that last moment where they yell "Science, besties!"
Yes.
And she really grew. One thing I did not realize until, just because I'm not observant, I guess, is that her look was very much patterned after Valeris from Star Trek VI, and that's kind of cool, but very much not like Valeris at all in any other ways. So I just think that I think she was great, and I think it's a huge. I don't know why. I would be curious as to why. Maybe it was because of Gabrielle Ruiz's contract or management or whatever, why she never got listed in the opening credits. But I really think that certainly in this last season, if not the last 2 seasons, she's right up there with our main cast. And I just always thought it was robbing the actress that she always was listed as a guest cast member. But yeah, I thought that it did a great job with her, and she's ended up being one of my favorites on the show.
I was just going to be a slut and point out that I can't figure out if Rutherford's hotter with or without his implant.
Okay, so I'm
I knew
now
that was
gonna.
Problematic gay alert.
We
You
were
were in
starting
that,
to feel
Diva.
naked without one of
I
those.
knew it was going to happen. At some point, I was like, when is Trev going to mention
Bring it.
hot Rutherford?
Because he was
pretty
hot.
hot.
Though.
He was always hot.
He was
Will.
always
Okay.
hot. But I mean,
Well,
like when the thing came up, the way they animated it, it was like, like it was like, I was like, oh goodness, like it was like a thing.
But the
I was
best
waiting.
part was he was like, I'm fully organic, and it
It feels weird, yeah.
you're fully organic.
Yeah, you are.
Okay,
Funny. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be fun tonight.
I'm going to drag this down and go full SJW on the situation. So I have all kinds of at least questions, if not problems, about this. So, like, is this Rutherford accepting his disability? Is he like rejecting his medical aid or his medication? Are we saying that these things are bad? Are we saying that
had
he was
these
normal
thoughts
looking
too.
now and he wasn't before? I don't know.
That's why I said I couldn't decide if it was before or after.
Yeah. Okay.
I also want to be a wet blanket about it a little bit because I was wondering that too. Like, it was sort of how like Geordie's visor became Geordie's pretty eyes because LeVar didn't want to wear that thing anymore. Which fine, whatever. And we've talked about this before. Star Trek does have a checkered past, we'll say, with how it portrays disability, and so I believe what am I trying to say? This may have been slightly retconned in the show because it was not obvious at the beginning, at least, but it did seem to be a choice to continue using it. But again, like it feels like a little bit of a retcon because it was something he needed and now he doesn't. But it was portrayed early on as like he is now augmented because he needs to be. And yeah, I had conflicting thoughts about that too, Benji. I'm glad you brought that up.
You can always retcon them, but then it's like, well, why did Star Trek put these things in the first place? It's to, say something about an issue. And then if you just end up retconning it, then why did they do it in the first place?
To dry your blanket a little.
And now he's handsome because he doesn't need his cochlear implant anymore or whatever.
Well, he was handsome before. I think I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I don't
And
he's fuckable. I don't really care about.
Okay. And then here's the other thing, though. So again, the implant was responsible for, I guess, I don't know, like libido issues or something. And so now he's hot for Tendi, where it's like it's betraying their platonic ace, slightly inappropriate friendship. So I don't know. I'm like 0 for 0 on that, and I love Rutherford. But...
Yeah, I had issues with him this episode because I thought like the development of him falling out of love with the Cerritos was kind of out of nowhere. It was like, oh, we have to do something with Rutherford. What would be something that we could do with him? And like I always felt like the augment was voluntary. Like I always felt like it was, and then it kind of teeter on the edge of being necessary and like inhibited. And then there was some stuff with like the implant, like that one, the implant doing things and like the alternate personalities and stuff. But it did give me like when he was like suddenly hot after not having the thing on, that it was like a she's all that moment where it was like, oh, you took your glasses off and now you're hot. Like it's like I didn't take it as like disability can't be, if someone who's disabled can't be attractive. I just felt like it was like, I don't know, it just seemed underdeveloped, because if they had played earlier on that Rutherford was having issues with the compatibility of his implant and his job, like if there was something that he could like some development that come out of that. But it does, as the character has become kind of a representation of disability and people who need augmentation to function in some way, like it does seem a little kind of undercuts Rutherford's character that he was just able to get rid of it and all of a sudden he was great and could like do all this stuff with the ship. It seemed a little
I don't need my medication anymore. I'm better without it.
Yeah, I lost my sparkle, so I'm gonna go off my meds. Like, yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. It did feel a little like that. But I think it was just because Rutherford, I think, is just like a character in the series as a whole sometimes he never got his due. Like he had a couple of good episodes, like the racing one I thought was really good for him. But like I just don't think he got enough of his like, I never got a good Rutherford.
Yeah, they even resolved him having it and being glitchy, and then like they resolved it with the evil AI that sort of birthed Badgie and then was tied in with the Texas class. Yeah, it's the one bummer for me from this episode. It does feel a little backslidey.
Well, I'm glad I could bum all of you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
But there was the episode where they went to Orion or Orion, depending on
your hue.
Depending. Where he and Tendi had to, stay in the honeymoon suite and stuff. So were you suggesting that once he removes the implant, he actually
they said it. Yeah,
he's Tendi, and I'm saying that was kind of going on before. Maybe it was inhibited a little bit, but that wasn't. It wasn't. He didn't just.
But at the end of the episode, like they say that like their weird platonicness is what feels right for them. So like I'm sure like you know, you have to ask ace people about this, but I'm sure there have been plenty of people who throughout history who didn't know about their own aceness and felt forced to, you know, go along with what society says, which is that you have to be put with another person, and that, you know, you have to have sex and make babies even if they don't want to, or maybe they don't want to as much, if they're a gray ace. And so that episode worked out very well, because it was like, oh, we don't have to be like that. We can be close, we can be intimate, and we don't have to be in a relationship or a sexual relationship or what have you. So that's where they ended there, and that did work. But then they undid all of it at the end of this episode when they said that when he takes his implant off, it means his horn doggedness comes back.
I too got very horny when I had LASIK, so there's my representation. Not really. I'm trying to segue, and I am the queen of segues, as you all know. But speaking of hot people, let's talk about Boimler. That sexy beard he now has. But also Jack Wade, oof, can get it. What were our thoughts on Boimler's resolution to this Will dangling her little fingers? She wants to talk about it.
I had two things. Well, first thing I'm going to bring up before I forget was Boimler dyes his hair purple. So did he dye his beard purple?
That's my interpretation of it.
So this twink is out combing in purple just for men. Some manic panic into a beard. That's hilarious.
He could be like this ginger bitch who is now pretty gray up top, which I would be, but still have a red beard. So maybe he went gray young and he's self-conscious about it and he's coloring his hair, but maybe his beard is still purple.
But he said he dyes it anyway. Regardless,
I thought
it was funny. I thought it was funny that they kept it. Like, it would be funny if it was a different color and he was like, "Oh, I have to dye this." Like, that would be really funny. But anyway, his character development. I thought he probably got the biggest. I felt like his character was the most like. I felt like there was something happened to the character where I felt like he stopped being a mess and started being like a high functioning mess. Like I relate to Boimler a lot,
which is the lesson. Try to be a better version of yourself.
Right. I mean, because I do relate to that, where it's like the fake it till you make it kind of thing, where if you like the character you start playing, eventually you become that person. Like I've like there's times where in my life where I've felt like I was like pretending to be something and then I became it, like the better version of myself, not like something negative. But I'm a career criminal now. I loved the way he developed his character, and it felt like it wasn't as much of a forefront. Like there were moments where it happened, but it did seem like his character kind of gelled. Like they developed his character in a way where it made sense that he kind of like settled and became very competent and was doing some bad behavior, but then was like chose his friends over the alternate reality pad he had his hands on. So I like the way he ended up in the finale with the beard and everything. It looks weird to me looking at it, and not because it's purple, but because he has this very full beard that we saw grow over the whole season, which I thought was really funny. That's a great callback to Star Trek generally, where this show finds its beard. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a great, and then him being first officer at the end once he has the beard is like, it all makes sense to me. I loved it. That's the character. Boimler's the character I relate to the most, and I love where he ended up. But yeah, and worried about his friendship with Mariner first and foremost, while being co-XO, was very on par for that character. So,
yeah,
love where he ended up, and I love his development over the season too.
It was also super cute. This little the Vulcan salute, high five, friendship. Oh, so cute. And yeah, I love that. Like their immediate concern, like they weren't even excited about the potential for a promotion. It was like, oh, this could fuck with our friendship. I think they'll figure it out though. Loved it. Krista, you came off mute. Other thoughts on
No,
our Boyms?
I- I liked that he had a full beard. I said a couple episodes ago that I felt that he was constantly evolving into like a Riker 2.0, like he with the Riker maneuver, the whole thing, the reverse Riker maneuver, all of it. I enjoyed that he broke his pad. I could have been reading it wrong, but I felt like that was a bit of a commentary on social media and kind of allowing other things to determine who you are versus just accepting yourself as you are, and just like unload the noise of it and then be who you are. Which is
I like that interpretation.
Yeah, which is better than the way you started out. But I loved his progression, and I think it was absolutely perfect for Ransom, Texas football coach, retired, to put the two of them in competition for the first seat, and speak in sports metaphors. It all made a lot of sense. It all closed up nicely. And I will say about Ransom, I think he was the one character that kind of he capitalized on how much he was underestimated. I don't think that he was ever not aware that.
Yep, she froze. Or did I?
I don't know.
She's
fine.
She's on for me.
I didn't freeze, I don't think.
Nope, she didn't
Oh,
freeze.
that's me. My bad.
Yep.
Okay,
Keep
so
going.
that would be you. I've now my brain is froze. Now I don't know.
I'm
Maybe
sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
It'll come back to me later, maybe. I don't know. But I liked Boimler. And I liked the way he ended up. And I liked that he was without crutches. Let's put it that way. That the friendship that he has with Mariner is more of a friendship of equality. It's a friendship where they both make each other better because they want to be better for the other. They wouldn't want to let the other one down. So in that, I think it's not so much competition as it is an actual true friendship. And again,
The reason is friends. What a lovely segue to wrap up. The reason is friends. The themes of this episode, this finale: teamwork, friendship, never giving up. I could gush on and on. Any final thoughts before Trevor gives us the tallies of this episode? William.
I had a thought. What I love about this show is that it feels like a group of people who are friends at work versus them being family. Because I find that that's so loaded. Yeah, sorry. I had Cheez-It stuck in my throat. That's the thing I loved about this show. Because as a person who's in their mid-30s and working, sometimes the friends you have are the people you work with. And being in a workplace with people, sometimes you feel like you're lice huddling together in a burning wig. So like seeing it represented in something I love, that Star Trek, felt good for me. I hate that the show is over, but like the fact that they were all work friends and loved each other, but it didn't feel like I was constantly being like, they're my family, which like I find super annoying. 'Cause it's like, you're in the Navy, bitch. Like, come on. like seriously, you're in the Space Navy. Like, I find like some of that a little annoying in New Trek, but like, anyway, I just wanted to point that out because for some reason that came into my brain. That I love that they're workplace friends.
Trevor, give us the tallies, please.
I don't want to. Okay. There was one problematic gay alert. There was technically a problematic ally alert. The song didn't play, but I allowed it. There were 2 tosser alerts, which is just being nice to Ken. There were probably more, but I'm just going to be kind. 760 bonus points to Krista for forgetting how her mute button works. an additional 50 for issuing her signature "fuck off" within the first minute of the show.
Well done.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. 1,701 bonus points to Will for
Go to
and-
warp, everybody. That was the signal. Go to warp.
And last but not least, a kabillion bonus points to everyone who made Lower Decks happen for making Lower Decks happen.
Yes.
Yay.
Again, huge thanks to the entire crew of Lower Decks. It's been wonderful to talk about. It's been wonderful to be named from seeing a Salon in your wonderful show. Before we wrap up, I do want to give folks a little sneak peek at a fun interview that Trevor and I did for the Salon, a Salon supplemental with Lori Ulster, who I'm sure everyone knows from Trek Movie. They will be on their podcast goes live on Fridays. So be sure to check that out. We will be dropping the full interview in early January and hyping up Trek Talks, which is a wonderful event raising money for the Hollywood Food Coalition. And they're going to be wonderful panels. They're kicking things off January 18th. And so it'll be a fun all-day event. If you can give, please do. But let's hear from Lori, a little sneak peek of that interview, talking about her our intention setter for these Salon supplementals is what is your Star Trek headcanon. So let's hear from Lori.
Lori, to set an intention today, I thought it would be fun if we ask just one simple question, which is, what is your Trek headcanon? So unique to you, perhaps, maybe you borrowed it from someone else, but something that we've never seen on camera, we've never had confirmed, but you just know that it's true.
All right. Well, are you familiar with the Voyager episode Resolutions?
Yes.
Where Chakotay and Janeway are on a planet and they think they might have to stay there forever. And they
yes,
meet a monkey and he builds her a tub. All the important
Like you do.
things. So I think that after that, they got back to the ship. And that night, she showed up at his cabin and she said, we're going to do this one time, get it out of our systems, and then all the flirty stuff can continue, but we will be done.
Nice.
Fun little clip, one time, bang it out, and it's done. For the record, before anybody freaks out, we go on to talk about how none of us are JC shippers, Lori included, but just that one time after all of that tension was built up. We'll be dropping more bits from that interview over the next couple of weeks, and again, drop the full interview in early January. Lori was a lovely guest. We had a lot of fun. I am quite obviously hungover in that interview from a friend's holiday party, but I pulled it together, and Lori had a great time. Trevor, I assume, had a great time. It was super fun. Lots of fun stuff coming from that interview.
I do get to gush for like a split second on the interview about Trek Movie. I won't spoil all of it, but I will just say I credit 3 podcasts with helping me save my sanity during the pandemic, and Trek Movie and All Access is one of them. So Lori, I've been listening to and started DMing her years ago, and just we've had this fun DM kind of back and forth. Got to meet her a couple times at STLV, but the conversation is long overdue, and it's fantastic, and can't wait for you guys to see the whole thing.
So that wraps it up for this episode of the Salon. Again, huge thanks to the entire crew of Lower Decks. We hope this isn't truly the end. We will potentially keep watching the socials at Salon Trek everywhere we may do a thing next Thursday. So be on the lookout for that, but we will definitely be back the first Thursday of January. Date redacted. I don't remember what the date is, but we will be back the first Thursday in January. January, we've got some fun stuff coming up. We're going to be talking about the ethics of the holodeck. We're going to be talking about the ethics of the Prime Directive. Spoiler alert, it's bullshit. And we're going to be talking about Section 31, generally speaking, before we deep dive into the Section 31 movie coming out on the 24th of January, I believe. It's the Friday. So we'll be talking about Section 31 on that Thursday, and then doing our first reactions review of the movie that Friday evening. So lots of fun stuff coming in the new year before President-elect Musk destroys this world. And with that, everyone, I hope you all live long and prosper, and let's do it together. Lower decks, lower decks, lower decks.
Lower decks, lower.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.